Hello everyone and welcome to Geotech Masters. Every great structure you see, from a tall skyscraper to a long bridge, starts with something you cannot see. It starts with the ground beneath our feet. But how do we understand this unseen world? The answer is through a process called the geotechnical site investigation. In this new series, we will teach you a critical part of that process. We will learn how to describe and classify soil like a true professional.
Before we begin, let's think about what we will learn in this video. Have you ever wondered why a site investigation is so important for any engineering project? What is the systematic, step-by-step process that professionals follow to ensure nothing is missed? And what exactly is a geotechnical model, and why is it the most important goal of our investigation? We will explore all of these fundamental ideas, so please stay with us to the end. So, let's begin with the most basic question: why do we perform a geotechnical site investigation? In simple terms, we must understand the ground we are building on. We cannot see through soil and rock, so we must explore it. This process gives us the essential information we need to design a safe, stable, and long-lasting structure. It is the first and most important step. A good investigation ensures the safety and performance of the project. As we discussed in our Geotechnical Investigation Essentials course, a good investigation is like an insurance policy for your project. It helps to prevent major problems later on. These problems can include foundation failures, unexpected construction delays, and very large cost overruns. By investing in a proper investigation at the start, we manage these risks and create a foundation for a successful project. Imagine a heavy building placed on very soft soil. Without an investigation, the building could settle or even tilt, causing cracks and creating a dangerous situation. The investigation helps us predict how the ground will behave. This allows us to design a foundation that can support the structure safely for many years. As usually the first layers of the ground are comprised of soil layers, so it is very important to identify and understand these layers. Accordingly, this course focuses on soil classification based on visual and tactile methods usually done on site.